Welcome, everyone. We are so excited that you are joining us for today's presentation. I'm going to go ahead and just give it a moment for people to get connected, and then we'll officially begin. All right. Welcome, everyone, to Let's Talk African American Gardens. This series is a proud collaboration between Smithsonian Gardens and the National Museum of African American History and Culture. We are so excited to have Leslie Bennett joining us today. My name is Katie Munn. I'm the Education Specialist at Smithsonian Gardens. And before I pass it off to my co-collaborator, who will introduce our presenter, I just want to go over a few housekeeping items. This presentation is being recorded and will be made available in our online Let's Talk Gardens library after we conclude. The chat box is available for you to ask your questions. We will have time at the end of Leslie's presentation for you to ask questions, and we can't wait to hear what you want to know. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce my co-collaborator, Carla Thomas McGinnis, the Assistant Director of Council Operations and Museum Initiatives, the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Hi, Carla.
Hello, thank you, Katie. We are so excited that Leslie Bennett is with us here today. As you know, if you've tuned into a Let's Talk African American Gardens before, we are here in commemoration and celebration of the Handbook of the Negro Garden Club of Virginia, which was published in the early 1940s. But we are here today to talk about Garden Wonderlands and creating a life-changing outdoor spaces for beauty, harvest, meaning, and joy. So let me introduce our illustrious speaker today. Leslie Bennett is the founder and owner of Pine House Edible Gardens, an Oakland-based landscape design build firm that creates aesthetic edible gardens and productive outdoor spaces. She is co-author of Garden Wonderland and the Beautiful Edible Garden, both published by 10 Speed Press. Leslie is included on the Elle Decor A-list for 2023, and the 2 years preceding was named a top 50 Black Trailblazer by Oprah Winfrey in 2022. She is a recipient of the American Horticultural Society's Landscape Design Award and is founder of the Black Sanctuary Gardens. Leslie and her firm's work have been featured in Architectural Digest, Elle Decor, Martha Stewart Living, Better Homes and Gardens, Sunset Magazine, New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Gardenista, and more. Leslie holds degrees from Harvard University, Columbia Law School, and University College London in the fields of environmental justice, land use law, cultural property, and preservation. She lives in gardens in Oakland, California, with her 2 children. So without further ado, let me turn it over to you, Leslie. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, hi everybody. Thank you so much, Katie and Carla. I really appreciate it. And thanks so much to the Smithsonian for inviting me. This is a real honor, and I'm really happy to be here. So,
all right. So we're gonna disappear for a minute and let you take it.
Okay, and I'm noticing that the screen is a little fuzzy, so I don't know what that is. Maybe we should try sharing from your screen. I don't know.
But yeah, I see it.
Maybe let me click the next.
Do you want to test a few photos, Leslie, just to see if it's...
Maybe it's just that first. Oh, look.
There we go. Okay. There it is. All right.
Hi, Leslie. All right. Okay, great. Well, thank you. And hi again, everybody. Webinar format sort of funny. I'm talking to avoid myself. But I'll just imagine you all out there smiling and nodding. You can send me text messages or spaces, the chat messages as we go along, and Katie and Carla will send them my way. But in any case, it's great to be here. And as Carla mentioned, I'm the founder and owner of Pine House Edible Gardens and the Black Sanctuary Gardens Project. And I'm based in Oakland, California, and I've been doing this work for about 15 years now. And just came out with a book covering a lot of the work that my team and I do here in Oakland. So I'm excited to share about that with you today. One of the real reasons, or the big reason why I wanted to come and do this talk today is that I'm really passionate about representation of Black people in the world generally. And I'm just really excited to show up and represent myself as a Black landscape designer in this field of garden design. I'm raising 2 kids in this country right now. And one of the things I feel really strongly about is just letting them know that that we as Black people exist in so many different shapes and forms and fields. We hold multitudes, can do anything and everything, and in fact are doing so many amazing things. And we can do whatever we want to do. So yeah, I'm kind of here to spread that message and share some of my journey to hopefully inspire everybody, hopefully, but especially any young people, especially any young Black people who are listening, wondering what they can or should do with their lives, just to let them know that you can follow your imagination and create the world for yourself that you want to live in. So with that, I wanted to share a little bit about my background and journey. And I think part of the reason I feel so passionately about representation and sharing sort of alternative journeys, because mine has been an alternative journey, is that I didn't entirely get that memo when I was a young person growing up. I grew up in Palo Alto, California, daughter of immigrants. My father's from Jamaica and my mom's from England. And as a mixed race Black woman girl at the time, growing up in a white dominant society with immigrant parents who wanted the best for me, I didn't know I could be a garden designer. It just really was not an option. You know, I was very strongly, maybe subtly, but strongly pushed toward a professional career as a lawyer or a doctor or something like that. And in fact, that is what I did. I went to Harvard for undergrad, and I studied law at Columbia and University College London. And you know, I was 27 years old before I realized that I could do something else. I really wanted to be out in the garden. I wanted to have my hands in the soil. I wanted to be in touch with plants. And so anyways, I put myself here today to really try to maybe help some folks get there a little bit faster and let you know that it is possible. I mean, still have a job and still be okay. And choose gardens to be the center of your life. And a little bit more on my background is, you know, what I think is sort of funny is how long it did take me to get there, but I was always interested in gardens and plants and truly people's relationships with the land and with plants and with gardens. I'm so thankful to my mom for being a gardener, and sort of, even though I expressed zero interest in it as a child, I have very clear memories of her being in the backyard, puttering around, just being in an outdoor space with plants. And I would always be doing something else. I certainly never gardened. But it was modeled for me. And so I appreciate that. And I think that's a really powerful sort of nugget to hold on to, especially for those of us who are raising kids, like just showing that that we can be in a relationship with plants. And I think that's one of the powerful things about a garden, just making the place, you know, it's if you build it, they will come. So make the garden, be out there, and then see what happens. And I think laying the path for that kind of connection is so important. But anyway, so I grew up not comfortable with gardens, but not very interested, really a passionate environmentalist. I remember I founded the Earth Club in my high school. I really wanted to save the planet, still want to save the planet. Went off to college and decided to study environmental science and public policy with a focus on environmental justice, which is really around how racism, systemic racism affects our experience in the world, in the landscape. A really classic example is sort of how bus depot stations are often situated in Black and brown, lower income communities. And and that sort of looks like a policy or transport decision, but it actually really impacts the landscape that Black and Brown people live with, the health effects that the health impacts that they're exposed to, and is an example of how landscape, an example of environmental justice. So I studied those kinds of things, and I love the intersection again of humanity and policy, landscape. I decided to go deeper into that, and I went to law school and decided to focus on land use law, and then ended up getting a master's in law in cultural property and landscape preservation. And that was really, I love that line of study because it was really around, again, like how do the choices that we make that feel like just regular policy, like what's going to happen in this public park? Are we going to sell hot dogs? Or are we going to have just nature? Or are we going to put in a baseball field? And how those choices inform how people relate to the land that they live with. So I was doing all this, and I went to London. I worked for the Foreign Agricultural Service, wrote papers about the European landscape and how, again, policy choices really affect the landscape and how people feel about the land. And this was a big turning point for me because I was there in my little office in London. And at this point, I was officially a policy wonk. And I remember I was on the phone with some farmer in Dorset or something, somewhere in the countryside of England, interviewing her for some paper I was writing. And at some point during the phone call, she interrupted me and she said, have you ever been to a farm? In other words, like, do you know what the heck you're talking about? And I laughed and I was like, actually, no, I've never been. I'm 26 or 7 years old, and I'm here writing papers from the office in London, and I literally have never done anything remotely practical, let alone sticking my hands into the dirt. So she invited me out to her farm, and I went, and from there I was like, oh, I really like this. And I started volunteering at farms on the weekends through a program called WOOF, Willing Workers on Organic Farms, I think is what it stands for. But basically you can go spend weekends at homesteads and farms around England. So I started to do that and realized that I loved it. So I'd be working at my law firm. I ended up having a job at a law firm briefly in London, and then on weekends I'd go out to these homesteads and harvest asparagus and rhubarb and all these cute little English things, strawberries, and I loved it. I truly loved it. I ended up leaving my job. I did a permaculture course again out in the countryside in England, and it was a apple orchard and mushroom farm. And it was a 2-week course, right? It was the first time I went and lived on a farm for the first and immersed myself in it. And in that moment, I was on the farm, and I think it was day 2 or 3. And I just had a moment where I looked up and looked around, and I said, wow, I'm really happy. I really, really like this. And that was a really big turning point for me. And I realized that I wanted to do more, that this would sort of be, I honestly, none of this even existed for me because it was just, my parents did not raise me to be a gardener or a garden designer. So this option literally did not exist for me before I sort of found it. And at that point, I still didn't know what it would look like. And in many ways, I think, even today, 15 years later, I still don't really know what it looks like. And I think that's part of being a business owner. It's a creative enterprise in the sense that you're always generating what the next step is and what you're going to do. But that sort of became my North Star of, okay, I love this. I feel really good being connected with the land, with the plants, with nature. And I'm just going to keep following that clarity, and with the knowledge that there's so many other people just like me who are stuck in a corporate job, stuck in whatever, an uncorporate job, stuck somewhere feeling disconnected. I think so many of us feel disconnected in our modern, sometimes urban lives. And the land and gardens and plants are there to kind of to ground us. And so anyway, I decided I would start a business and share this message with the world and let people know that they could not necessarily do exactly what I've done, but take the parts of it that work for them. And that really is the premise of my business, Pine House Edible Gardens. But I forgot, so I've got pictures here. So I wanted to share a little bit. So I was on the farm in England, loved it, decided I was going to go deeper. And really for the next 3 years, pursued that really deeply. And to the concern, dismay of my family, perhaps, I moved to Jamaica, where my father's from. And I decided I wanted to go work on a farm. So that's the image I've got here. I don't know if it's cut off. Hopefully it isn't. Anyways, I moved to the rural parish of St. Elizabeth, Jamaica. And I'm sharing this part of these images. I have a couple more because so much of my love and care for gardening is really rooted in this time that I spent in Jamaica. And it's so rooted in my own ancestry and sort of in this real homecoming that happened for me when I moved to Jamaica. But anyways, I Googled, I found there were not very many organic farms in Jamaica at the time. I think there were 3 or 4. I found one. It was in the rural parish of St. Elizabeth, which is the breadbasket of Jamaica, where there's so many farmers. And I moved to a tiny little cottage on the beach, and I found the local farmer who was farming at this organic farm up in the hills of Malvern near Monroe College. And I asked if I could volunteer. And I went up to the farm, and you can see here, this is the red dirt of Jamaica, which is really famous and important, or a source of pride, I would say, for Jamaicans. Is really, really rich, fertile soil that the red coloring comes from the bauxite, which is Jamaica is one of the only places that has rich resources of bauxite, which is one of the ingredients for aluminum. But so aside from being a great aluminum maker, it is also a great food maker. So you can see there's corn growing on the left there. This is me in the fields. I think I must have been 20. I was 28 or 29. This is the farm. The guy there in the yellow shirt became my husband, not my ex-husband, but we were together for 13 years, and he was a part of my business and life story as well. So we'll come to that. That guy on the left there was a local farmer, Killer Green. I'm pretty sure was his name. That just came to me. I may be taking too long, but this is a really favorite message of mine. So let's see. So Killer Green was the lead farmer. He taught us and some of the nobody else on the farm had actually grown organically. So he taught us all a lot about what to do. And there's me. These are not cute pictures of me, but they're what I have. So there's me harvesting basil. There's me harvesting, these look like little yellow pear tomatoes. We were weighing them and transporting them to, we were growing these organic greens for hotels on the island. So we'd grow them, harvest them, and transport them to like the Ritz Hotel on the North Coast. So it was a great little micro business for this local farmer. Anyways, I learned a lot. I really adored that time there. And, you know, I don't have my tools shown here, but I was there farming with a machete. We tilled the soil with machetes, or, dug it up, loosened it, planted, harvested, did everything with machetes. And I was there for almost a year and loved it. So after that, I decided to go deeper. I moved back home to California. I moved up to deepest, darkest Mendocino, to a little town called Covelo. This was, what I was doing here? I was building my bed. I slept in the barn. And that was funny. My mom dropped me off. She was like, wow. I moved to a trailer in the woods. Sorry, I haven't seen these photos in a long time, but they're fun. I moved to a trailer in the woods in Grass Valley. This was my home also. The farm was literally right next door. And yeah, for 3 years, I followed my intuition, my spirit, and it took me to the woods. It took me to a trailer in the woods. I loved it so much. and I learned so much. I decided at a certain point that I wanted to go to Oakland and bring the skills that I sort of following that vision that I had when I was in England on that apple orchard. I knew that I was learning something that was really valuable and was changing my life. And I wanted to bring it to Oakland. I wanted to be working with and around people who look like me, and also who had experiences like me, were maybe living in what we'll just call the modern world. Trying to make it all work, going to school, going to your job, raising your family, living the lives that we lead, which are largely disconnected from the land. So this was one of my very first projects, which was a friend and community member, her little backyard in Oakland, and she wanted to grow some food. So there's me digging with a shovel. It was fun. And I did this with a mentor who I worked with, Patrick, who I worked with up in Grass Valley. He came down and helped me, and also a friend from college. So anyway, those are the old days. That was fun. Thanks for the walk down memory lane. So let's see. Eventually I started so that first shot was like the very first iteration of my business, which over the last 15 years has morphed into Pine House Edible Gardens, which is a lot more streamlined and fancy looking now, but is really the same spirit of the reason I'm so passionate about my work is that I'm driven to help homeowners have a relationship with the land that they live with. And so much of my work is about relationships, and we design and install gardens, and we also help to maintain them. But it's really very much of a collaborative coaching, almost interpretive service, where we're like, hey, we're in your gardens this week. This is what's happening. Because they're not static landscapes that we're making. We're creating these really beautiful, edible, integrated landscapes that may look like a traditional garden and have lots of ornamental, beautiful plantings in them, but there's also food plants, there's medicine plants, there's culturally meaningful plants, all integrated throughout. And a lot of times these are plants that people are not familiar with. They're like, oh, I really love cherries, or really rhubarb. My mom used to always make something with rhubarb, and I want to grow that plant, but they don't know what it looks like. And so we are teaching them about how to take care of it, how to grow it, how to harvest it, how to cook with it, and really how to be in relationship with it. And so I love that. So this is our current website, our services. Let me see if there's anything else I wanted to talk about. Let's see. Yeah, so anyway, so Pine House, I think as I was working on these farms up in Grass Valley and Mendocino, I loved growing about food. That felt like, wow, this is amazing. And still to this day, I'm amazed. The very simple but profound revelation that, like, I can grow food, I can feed myself, and I can actually do it on a very small plot of land. You don't actually need, I think we all grew up with this idea, or in America at least, we grew up with this idea of like, you got to be a farmer with like a couple hundred acres and trade soybeans or something, but it's not that. You can actually homestead and grow all the food you need to eat, if you get really, really into it and do it intensively in a small backyard. I don't feel that we are all intended to be farmers or need to be farmers. I don't aim for self-sufficiency. I actually feel that sort of the experience and the relationship is the really important thing. So that's what I encourage our clients and people to do. But anyway, so as I was working on these farms, learning about how to grow food, I loved it. And I had this moment where I was like, this, something, there's something about the organic farming world that I experienced that was very sort of counterculture, very anti-mainstream, and for some reason also very utilitarian oriented, and sort of rejecting of beauty, as though beauty were this thing that's, oops, let me delete that here, as though beauty were only sort of the domain of the rich, or if it's frivolous or something that we shouldn't all, oops, shouldn't all sorry, I'm trying to share this screen so it looks a little better. Anyways, yeah, this idea that beauty is not for all of us for some reason, you know, and I worked supported with some local like community service things too, and so many of the gardens that were being made for lower income folks were also just very utilitarian. And they're like, well, we should grow some food and make this really practical and help everybody. But you know, I realized I have this very strong belief that we all deserve access to beauty. And if we're going to make a garden, let's make it food producing, let's make it beautiful. And then over time, as I started working and designing these gardens, I started to tease out this idea of making gardens meaningful and realizing that these gardens are these sort of sites that we're creating where we get to feed ourselves, our bodies, our spirits, our minds, and the food that we all need is unique because of the stories and the histories that we're all coming from. And so it started to become really clear to me that I wanted to be incorporating people's histories, their lineage, their backgrounds into the gardens that we were making. So, you know, our consult questions sort of morphed from being like, well, what do you want to grow and eat? And like, what flowers do you like? And what look do you like? Which are all very important questions. And also trying to go a little deeper and say, okay, what matters to you? Like, what practices are you trying to grow for yourself and your family? Do you have memories of something that was really meaningful for you as a child? That you'd like to bring into your current life or pass along to your children. And those are things, you know, that can be like, well, my grandmother loved daffodils and she always had them and she got so excited and I knew it was spring, like that sort of fleeting memory that's there. Or something like there was an apple tree in my backyard and my grandfather would pick the apples and we'd all make apple pie and that was just a happy memory. I think a lot of us, even those of us who are living pretty removed from the land, have something somewhere. You know, for me, my grandmother, she used to visit from Jamaica and she would, whenever my brother and I were sick, she would make fever grass tea for us. And it's such a unique, which is also lemongrass. It's such a unique flavor and I really associate it strongly with her. So with my own garden, I knew I wanted to grow lemongrass, fever grass, and I hadn't really done anything with it since I was 8 or 9 years old. But I wanted to get to know that plant. I wanted to grow it. I wanted to taste it again. And I also wanted to grow it for my kids and give it to them when they were sick, because I remember that real sense of caring that sort of came along with that, and wanted to pass that along. Okay, so I'm jumping around a little, but I think that I'll go to the next screen. So so this is our services now. Our garden design, the middle picture is harvest, and then we do lots of flower arranging. And I guess the belief that I want to, or you can see the premise here, is that I truly believe that creating a backyard garden that supports you allows you to show up better in the world, support your friends, family, and community, and sort of garden by garden, person by person, change our world for the better. So that is the sort of premise that we work with. Our business has grown, and now you've got all these different gardens all over the Bay Area. I'll be showing a few of them later. Over time, in 2019, I decided to found the Black Sanctuary Gardens Project. And that really came out of, oh, wow, I'm really running short on time. Okay, that really came out of, I think I was just wrestling with my passion has always been around social justice, racial justice, really grappling with what it is to be a Black person in this country with all the complexities, and then doing what is largely high-end landscaping, high-end residential landscaping in the Bay Area, and how to sort of bring those two together. I landed on this project, the Black Sanctuary Gardens Project, which basically is fully incorporated into my business. And it is a series of gardens created in collaboration with Black women here in the Oakland area. And part of it is access oriented, because I think in my work, I've been really traversing the American landscape and really seeing the results of government policies over the last 200 years here, and witnessing the land and that people are living with and the resources that people have due to our history. So there are access issues that I wanted to address. And so the way that that is handled is that everybody who works, any standard client of Pine House, a percentage of the fees that they pay for design, build, and maintenance are directed toward the Black Sanctuary Gardens project, and that money supports the cost for design, build, and care of gardens for Black women in the Oakland area. And so in that way, we're able to meet Black women where they are. And so some Black women have, low to no cost gardens provided. Some are self-funding, and it makes sense that there's a range. The bigger part of the Black Sanctuary Gardens project is truly it's almost an art project of, I guess it's an Afrofuturist art project of what does the future look like and where are Black people in it. And in my vision, we are in our gardens. And the truth is, we're in our gardens now. Media just doesn't show us there. We've been in our gardens for ages because we are, as all people on this planet are, I believe, we are all people of the land, and we're all descended from people who had deep relationships with nature and plants and land. And we're all in different levels. Most of us are in different levels of removal from that. But I love going back to the idea of Black women in relationship with the land, in touch with our birthright, to be connected with the land. And so a big part of the project is creating these gardens. Obviously the women getting to live and be with them. And I am I'm a participant also in the project. So I live in relationship with my backyard and I love it. And then there's also a portrait series, which is what I think one of the things that the world needs most is just beautiful images of us in our gardens. And so I thought I'd share a couple pictures, and I'm going to keep scrolling along here because I'm way behind time, but thank you for listening. So this is actually our very first Black Sanctuary Garden, created back in 2019 in East Oakland. And this is Amaka, who is a friend and community leader, and this is her in her backyard. And I just loved Amaka for saying yes to me when I suggested this idea and being up for it. I feel like, as with the people who are involved with the book, or the homeowners and clients who are included in the book, it's a very intimate thing to allow to have people take photos of you in your garden in these spaces that we create, which are very intimate. This is not like a standard backyard with a grass and some azaleas. This is a backyard filled with really meaningful things. Amaka's favorite flowers, the roses, are just to her left. And Ume Plum, which is her partner's, relates to her partner's Japanese heritage. This is my backyard, also in East Oakland. And you'll see a lot more of this in the book, but you can see there's place for me and my kids to lounge, a dining table, there's veggie beds on the left, sort of graphic, bold forms. There's me living my best life. And this is actually the first time I've assembled all the portraits. And so far we've created 8 gardens, Black Sanctuary Gardens, all in Oakland. And we've taken portraits for not all of them yet, but I've got like 5 or 6 of them. And the portraits, and so it's exciting for me to see them sort of assembled here. But I love the idea of creating the landscape, taking a picture of the garden, and then taking a picture of each woman sort of in whatever it's sort of a modern, an updated, intersectional Black woman centered room of her own, a garden of our own. So anyway, there's me on the couch living my best life. This is Courtney's garden. And Courtney is another, she lives in East Oakland. She's an herbalist. This garden is full of so many amazing medicinal plants, yarrow, sage, this amazing tobacco plant. This is some images of her with the yarrow, which is one of the most healing plants on the planet that It grows on all 7 continents. Every culture around the world has a historical relationship with yarrow and its healing properties. And Courtney has a strong relationship with it as well. She does this amazing ritual that she's come up with herself, working with a tobacco plant that a shaman shared with her. And she is talking to her plant, she's whispering to them, she's playing music, she's blowing smoke on them. And I just adore everything that she taught me, and that she's included. This is a photo from the book that she's sharing with the world. This is another garden. This is Malika's garden. This is really an intergenerational family garden. Guyana, Malika's family is Guyanese, so there's a good number of Guyanese plants growing in here. There's Malika and her portrait, which is just so joyful. And part of what I'm so excited about with the Black Sanctuary Garden project, again, as I say, are these portraits. I personally do not see enough portraits of Black women in gardens being our fully expressed, self-actualized selves. And so that was what I've been so curious and excited about making. And it's such a joy to get to see us. And you can see each of these portraits and each of these gardens are very different. But I'm so happy to be able to have been able to create these images. And I should mention Rachel Weil, who's the photographer for this project and for the book, and Julie Chai, who's my co-author and also collaborator on the Black Sanctuary Gardens project. But bringing these images to the world is one of the things I'm happiest about. This is Katie. Katie is another Oakland resident. This was a rental property and an apartment building. So a little deck space. So playful, so cute. I included this one too because it's cute, but also you can see a little bit more of the space. Like we can have gardens, whether we've got a backyard or just a little deck balcony. Katie chose all these shell containers that are so beautiful and so unique and just so her. So I love that. There's some more cute little images, and so for each project, we talk about what's meaningful to you. This is Frederica's garden. This is Frederica Newton, widow of Huey Newton, co-founder of the Black Panther Party. Such an honor to get to work with her. And this is her gorgeous garden back in West Oakland. And, just for example, she grew up with her mother being a rose lover, and she had a rose garden that she tended, and her father was really into growing vegetables and I think had an agricultural degree. And so when Frederica was thinking about what she wanted to have in her garden, she wanted a place that was peaceful, where she could go and sort of feel some restoration and serenity after her complex workday. She really wanted to support Black artists, local emerging Black artists. You can see there's in the lower right, there's a blue bird bath, which is made by a local Black artist. There's like 20 pieces of amazing art in this garden, all made by local Black emerging artists. And these more pictures in the book, but it's an incredible space that speaks to Frederica's passions and also her family history and also just her hopes and dreams for herself. She wanted to be the person who could go out and pick some fresh herbs and make a healthy meal. That's part of the culture she was growing for herself. And there's Frederica, radiant and amazing, sitting, you can't see the garden here, but viewing her garden and at peace and one with the world in her garden. So that leads me to, and I should mention Black Sanctuary Gardens. You can follow along on Instagram. That's the primary place for finding information. It's at BLK Sanctuary Gardens. So please follow along. We do at least one project a year and sometimes more, and do sort of seasonal postings, updating, and it's just a really fun and beautiful project to follow along. So that gets us to Garden Wonderland, which is my new book. 5 of the 8 Black Sanctuary Garden projects are included in the book. And then there's 19 out of a total of 19 client gardens that are all gardens that my team, Holly Colgian, Lana Lopez, Jorge Ramirez, and more, Jessica Comerford, all created and help me care for here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And so the title there, Create Life-Changing Outdoor Spaces from Beauty, Harvest, Meaning, and Joy. Hopefully that sums it up, but I really believe that the purpose or the main point of the book is that I really believe that our backyards can be so much more than we have been led to believe. They can be these real sites for transformation, and it does take, with a little bit of design intent and care, we can incorporate the things that make the space transformational. And for me, I sat and thought about, I've been doing this now for 15 years, creating what are pretty amazing gardens, and figured out, like, what is it that's making these working? And really more than that, because we take care of the gardens, I've seen how the gardens really impact my clients' lives and how they're interacting with them, and they tell me. And so I've been able to sort of watch and learn and discern, okay, what works? What is happening here? Why are these gardens so impactful? And so the principles that I've sort of boiled it down to, and this is all included in the book, or this is actually like a big part of the book, is let's see, so I always lose track of them. But so the first one is around, what's my next slide? Okay, we'll leave it on this because that's nice. I'll tell you. So I included a few pictures of our gardens, but this is a great one. The first principle in the book is around experience with plants and designing a space where you're truly in daily, regular interaction, relationship with plants. I believe that plants are our allies, but and that is to say they can help us. They can make our lives so much better. But you can't really be an ally with someone that you are not in touch with, right? So you got to make a garden where you plant these things and then make it interactive, put the seat, put the chair underneath the tree, make a path where you're walking by and there's blueberries that you get to pick, or a fragrant scented geranium or lilac that you get to encounter, or include native or non-native pollinator attractors, and see wildlife come to your garden. This is a great example of a little garden in a front yard in Los Altos, which is low water, full of California natives, full of edibles. There's rosemary, there's pineapple guava, there's loquat. This is another shot of Frederica's garden. I'm really running short on time now, so I'm just going to say the 4 principles are experience with plants, beauty, connection, which is around growing food. And it is, to me, the power and potential of food to shape our lives, growing food to shape our lives. When you grow food, it becomes really clear, and this goes back to little environmentalist Leslie, of, how can I get people to care about this planet? And I feel like when you eat food that's been grown in the soil, you realize the plants eat the soil, you eat the plants, and we are really that directly connected to the land that we are living with, and that very soil. So we've got to take care of the soil. And so I think that lesson is sort of unavoidable and essential. And what's so great about growing food is that you end up having food, you end up with an abundance to share, and that means you can, and to be creative with, so you can sort of experience abundance, which I think is a big mindset shift as well. Learning, okay, I have this zucchini bumper crop, what am I going to do with it? And I think that's a moment of creative inspiration that I welcome. And same with flowers, having some flowers in your garden that you can cut and share. It's always the perfect gift for anybody, for any occasion. And just that, like, always having the right thing to show up with is such a huge thing. So anyway, this was a quick, and the last element is around belonging. Belonging in the sense of, I think all of us are searching for belonging, and I think our gardens can help us with that. For me in my own garden, it's been a lot about retracing my family lineage on both the English and Jamaican sides. But for all our clients, the story is different. Like, what are the stories they want to hold to? Who are they? Where did they come from? How are they connected? How have they been connected over time to people, places, land? And what do they want to carry forward? So I think in many ways, it can be connecting to our old or existing culture. And then in many ways, it's a generative, creative act of, what is the culture I want to create for myself? How do I want to be in the world? and how can I create a space that supports and reflects and kind of literally generates that, and including plants, again, as allies on that journey. Okay, so now I'm just going to flip through these. So this is Frederica's, some more of her art. These are some gorgeous sweet peas, and this is just that sense of wonder. That's an experience. You walk through that arch, and it's just like, wow, the world's amazing. This is a beautiful veggie garden that we built up in Ross, and again, so much food, so much abundance, flowers and food. A cute little farm-style garden for a family in Berkeley that was really missing their country life and wanting their kid to experience, I think, the joys of the farm sort of in the city. Your style can be modern, it can be farmy, it can be English cottagey, it can be something entirely different that is your own. This is Opuntia, is that flat paddle? It's a fruiting cactus, and Ugni, Chilean guava, along with citrus and other ornamentals. Beautiful front yard that some homeowners in Mountain View created for neighborhood gatherings. There's tons of fruit trees and avocados and whatnot in that front yard. A tiny little veggie bed with flowers in Oakland. Pineapple guava, lavender. This is a healing garden featured in the book. Another food garden. I'm a big fan of food and flowers, like can't have too many. And these are the last few images. This is me in my garden. Not my Black Sanctuary Gardens portrait, but similar. I love to read. This is my happy spot. I love sitting. For me, happiness and peace is sitting on a comfortable chair, surrounded by plants, blooms, fragrance, a good book. I think I have a glass of wine there. And I am able to feel restored. I'm able to feel grounded. I'm able to feel connected, and come back out of my garden being kinder to myself, kinder to my kids, kinder to the people around me, and hopefully contributing to a better world. I pick flowers. I love it. They're so pretty. And truly, not because I'm such a great flower designer, but because nature is beautiful and it's so fun to get to co-create with it. There's me and my kids growing up. To look at them growing up in relationship with nature. We're taste testing our plums, our pluots from the backyard tree, and they love that. We're growing. Zita loves watermelons. We're growing watermelon this year. Samuel loves his passion fruit. I just cut it back and he's mad, but he's so excited that it's going to grow back. He also is super into hosting swallowtails and monarchs on milkweed and fennel in our backyard. And these are the memories that they're having this childhood and this experience because I designed it, and in collaboration with Holly Colgian, but I designed it in my mind for them. I wanted them to have this experience. I wanted them to have these memories. I wanted this to be their foundation. So anyway, I love this picture, and it really represents so much of what I want to see in the world for them and for everybody. This is Samuel picking his green beans. That's a beautiful food harvest. You can do this too, folks. This is little Zita planting some Jamaican sorrel, which I'll close with. This is a plant that I grew up drinking. Jamaican sorrels is the holiday drink for Jamaicans and Caribbeans, and I think a lot of folks around the world. It grows in the subtropical climates, but you can also grow it here in California or anywhere across America as an annual summer crop. But anyways, I grew up drinking this. I loved it. It's sweet, it's nutmeggy, it's amazing. It's got rum in it. When you get older, it's fun. But that's the Christmas drink in Jamaica. And I didn't even know it was a plant. It was just like this delicious drink. And then when I was farming in Jamaica, I drove past some field and I was like, wait, what's that? And somebody's like, that's sorrel. And I stopped and looked, and I was so excited to see it, but I still didn't know it. And then, finally, when I built my own garden, I said, I really want to get to know this plant. I want to grow it. And so I located a source. I grew it, harvested it, and I don't have pictures of this here, but harvested it with Zita. And we brewed it and made our own homegrown sorrel. And for me, that was just such a practice of grounding into my own history and learning more about where I'm from, learning more about how the people I come from on both sides of my family. And again, this is true for all of us. We all came from people who had such deep relationships and resourcefulness and ability to make delicious things, healing things, wonderful things, from the land and plants and in relationship with all these things. And I personally had lost track of that, and I've been able to come back into relationship with it, and it adds so much beauty to my life, so much wonder to my life. And I want that for all of you, for anybody who's interested, that is. So that is the close of my talk. It is 9:52, so we have 8 minutes. And if anybody would like to send in questions or maybe have, Carla, I'll pass it over.
We've got some great questions in the chat. We had an early question from Babette. 2 questions. What type of raised bed garden soil blend do you use, and what is your favorite companion plant?
Raised beds, I generally, what we do is we put drain rock at the bottom of the beds. So the most important thing is really how much soil you've got. You want to have at least 18 inches, ideally 2 feet of soil for your plant roots to grow in. I usually go to the bulk supply place and buy their organic veggie blend. That can be a little, sometimes it's not quite right. So sometimes we add coir, like a coconut coir. Sometimes we add compost, organic compost. I think those are the most of the things we add. But go to your local supply center and they can advise you. You really just want to make sure it's organic. I think the whole point of growing food is that you know what's in it. You know, again, that same thing, the soil to plant to human. So know what's in the soil, because that's literally what you're eating. And just keep adding compost every season, every year, and you'll be good.
Do you
and companion plant, I don't do companion plants. I don't think it has to be that complicated. Just plant the stuff, have fun. You're gonna do great.
and do you do crop rotation in the
I
raised bed?
do to a certain extent, and I was really into it when I started because I had been on farms, and that's what you're taught to do. So I'd move my tomatoes around each year, and I'd plant favas, and we do that when we can, when we have the space. But most of us don't have that much space where you can really rotate. And I've realized that it's actually not that necessary if you add compost and organic fertilizer each year. The key is you don't want to deplete your soil, so that if your soil is very rich and nutrient laden, then your plants will be healthy. And if your plants are healthy and resilient, then they'll sort of naturally fight off diseases and pests. And then you won't even be tempted to not be organic. I almost forget to talk about being organic because it's so, it feels, it's just there. Like everything I do is organic. Everything we do at Pine House is organic. But grow organic, folks. Don't use those chemicals. And your compost and soil health is key to that.
Leslie, we had a question in the chat during your presentation from a participant who's updating an outdoor space and they want to incorporate a garden for 3 young children. Do you have any recommendations for easy to grow, lower maintenance food plants that you might recommend them starting out with?
Yeah. I mean, I think I would always have a small annual planting area for them. And that can be just like a little wine tub or a felt bucket, or even just like a 5-gallon bucket, like whatever you want there. Ideally, make it something beautiful you want to look at. But it can be a small planting area where they can just plant whatever they want, like stick the seeds in that they bring home from school, like grow potatoes, like just plant a tomato. So that for sure. And then what I did with my own kids, and I've loved doing it, is I just ask them what is their favorite thing, and they each get a plant. And so Samuel, at the time, his favorite thing was apple trees, but were apples. So I planted a small columnar apple for him in our backyard, and a columnar apple is like the best creation ever. It's a dwarf vertical tree that's just like 3 feet wide, and it grows in a column. It's weird and wonderful, highly productive. And so that's Samuel's apple tree, and he's so proud and excited whenever he gets a crop. And Zita, she got a blueberry bush. That was her favorite food. And so I think they each have like their own plant in the garden that has just made them be in relationship with it that much more easily and more closely.
There's another question here from someone who lives in Maryland. who asks, what do you think about adding banana peels in water or oranges or aloe vera in water for plants?
Great. I mean, it's all organic matter and it all adds, all these food and kitchen items, they all break down into nutrients that are accessible to the plants that you're growing. I personally don't do any of those things. I feel like there's so much information out there, all these things, it makes it so complicated. I feel like if I have any message, it's like growing food's not that complicated. You literally can stick, as long as you've got your soil, and if you're in California or somewhere where it's dry, an irrigation system goes a long way. But I just feel like sometimes it's overcomplicated and it actually keeps people away from growing food. You can totally do that. You can do eggshells, coffee, like any of, they're fine, but like you don't have to. Just stick the seed in, sing it a song, visit it every day, and it will most likely grow and reward you.
Great. Well, I know we are getting close to time, so I apologize that we won't have time for all of the questions in the chat, but thank you all so much for participating. To wrap up, I believe Carla has one last question for Leslie today.
I do. I have one question that comes from our handbook. The fourth chapter in the handbook is called Books You Should Read. So I want to ask you, what books should we read?
Oh my goodness. Well, I am a tired single mom of two young kids. So my reading is so limited these days. I am reading some great fiction, but that is irrelevant perhaps to this conversation. The book I really have to recommend is my own book. Look at this, Garden Wonderland. I see it's flipped around on the screen. Thank you, that's better, Carla. But Garden Wonderland, it just came out on April 2nd. There's my own backyard is on the cover. The first half of the book is all sort of how to, it's a really practical how to guide to like how to actually approach your own space. And it's I really designed it for keeping in mind, I really wrote it along with Julie Chai, my co-author, thinking about just a regular person looking at their backyard trying to be like, what on earth should I do with this? Because it can be really overwhelming. And then the second half is the 19 very inspiring garden stories with homeowners and their very unique gardens. So anyway, I'm thrilled with this book. One of the things I think is so exciting about it is that it is truly diverse, and that was something that was very intentional, and I felt like the world needs that. We need more images of more of us in our gardens,
Yes.
our beautiful lives at peace and in connection with the earth. And I feel like we achieved that. And when I flipped through it, it even startles me. I'm like, whoa, I haven't seen enough of this in my life. This is insane. So I'm really just happy with it, and I hope you all see a bit of yourselves in it when you read it, and that you take a little nugget of it to your own backyards and make your own garden wonderland.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. That was really
fun.
fun. Thanks for letting me show pictures. I don't always get to do that. Those Jamaican farming ones are a treat.
A nice throwback Thursday.
Yes, totally. Thank you, Carla. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your journey with us and for such a beautiful and informative talk. Thank you to our audience for joining us today. You were getting a lot of shout outs in the chat, so I'll make sure to pass those along. And thank you,
yes,
Carla.
please.
This has been just another wonderful entry in this series.
We'll see you next time.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you so much for attending. Bye.